All right, let's just dive right into this explainer. We're going to peel back the layers of Near Protocol today. Seriously, it's a fascinating story. How exactly did this incredibly ambitious project evolve from an artificial intelligence startup into a massive, multi-billion-dollar blockchain network? Well, welcome to the explainer. Let's figure it out. To really grasp a topic this complex, here's our roadmap. We'll quickly cover the origins of Near Protocol, how Near actually scales, Near versus Ethereum, the tokenomics and inflation, the Near D-app ecosystem, and finally, controversies and future risks.
Okay, Section 1. Origins of Near Protocol, from artificial intelligence to blockchain. Back in 2017, co-founder Ilya Polasukhin was actually an engineering manager at Google Research, and he co-authored that famous paper, Attention is All You Need. If you follow tech at all, you know that's literally the foundational paper that introduced the transformer architecture powering modern AI like ChatGPT. Huge deal, right? So in 2018, he and Alexander Skledenov founded Near AI. But as they started hiring contributors all over the world to train their models, they hit a massive wall. Paying global contributors who didn't have bank accounts was incredibly hard. And trying to send crypto in 2018, it was painfully slow and super expensive. So they completely pivoted to blockchain and ultimately launched the Near mainnet in 2020.
The source material makes a really great point here. They pivoted because they needed a solution themselves. They basically decided to build the network they'd actually want to use as developers. And this brilliantly illustrates their core philosophy, creating a highly usable, truly scalable platform built from the ground up for real-world application development, not just, for financial speculation.
Moving on, Section 2, how Near actually scales, the engine under the hood. The secret sauce here is called Nightshade sharding. With most traditional blockchains, every single node has to process every single transaction. And as you can imagine, that creates a massive bottleneck. But Nightshade treats the network as one single blockchain while dividing the state and execution into parallel chunks. Because all this data is being processed simultaneously, the network's capacity actually grows right alongside demand. It's totally dynamic. You can sort of think of Near as a community-operated cloud. It's essentially designed to be a decentralized alternative to traditional cloud services, kind of like Amazon AWS. It gives developers that robust, scalable infrastructure they totally expect from Web 2, but with the security, open state, and user ownership of Web 3. The key difference? There's no single corporate bottleneck controlling the servers. And all of this enables their ultimate vision, which is chain abstraction. Basically, Near wants users to care about the actual app experience, not the fragmented chains running in the background. By using tools like meta-transactions for gasless interactions and chain signatures that let smart contracts sign transactions on any other blockchain, Near effectively makes the underlying infrastructure completely invisible to the end user. It just feels like magic.
Next up, Section 3. Near versus Ethereum, the architectural divide.
To really understand the crypto landscape going into 2026, we have to look at this vital comparison. Both networks use a concept called sharding, but they apply it entirely differently. Ethereum uses dank sharding, which is data availability sharding. That focuses on making it cheaper for layer 2 rollups, think Arbitrum or Optimism, to post data back to the mainnet. So Ethereum is essentially delegating the execution. Near, on the other hand, natively shards the execution directly on its layer 1 using Nightshade. Because of this native execution sharding, Near achieves a staggering near-instant finality of roughly 1.2 seconds. Seriously, it has the architectural potential to handle over 100,000 transactions per second. It is custom-built to be a unified, high-speed base layer, whereas Ethereum relies on that modular, multi-layered approach. Let's look at Section 4, the tokenomics and inflation, fueling the network and the 2025/2026 upgrade. Just like anywhere else, every transaction on the network costs a fee, also known as gas. But unlike a lot of networks that just hand those fees straight to validators or burn everything, Near explicitly pays its developers. 30% of the gas fees spent interacting with a smart contract are actually rebated directly back to the developer of that contract. The remaining 70% is then burned, which creates this nice deflationary pressure during periods of high network activity. But, a protocol's economics have to adapt over time. Through a massive community-led upgrade leveraging their new House of Stake governance platform, 3 major economic changes were mapped out. First, halving the network's maximum inflation. Second, implementing a proposal called HSP-002, which funds 100,000 Near annually to protect small validators from a sudden drop in payouts, which keeps the network decentralized. And third, HSP-003, which actively rewards VNear holders who participate in governance.
This massive shift perfectly illustrates how a mature network pivots. Dropping the maximum inflation rate from 5% to 2.5% is a huge deal. That original 5% rate was great for bootstrapping the network in its early days, right? But with a mature ecosystem and stateless validation making things way more efficient, the community decided, hey, it's time to reduce unnecessary dilution and make these tokenomics leaner and much more sustainable.
Section 5. The Near DApp Ecosystem, Real-World Utility and Applications.
Now, all this advanced technology and sustainable tokenomics, completely useless without actual utility. But today, the variety of applications on Near is vast, and they are highly utilized. You've got Sweat Economy, which is a massive move-to-earn application that successfully transitioned from Web 2 to Web 3. They boast over 140 million users. Then there's Burrow, the dominant DeFi lending protocol on the network, holding over $150 million in total value locked. You also have Mitner, processing over 90% of Near's NFT volume with a mobile-first approach, and Metapool, allowing users to liquid stake their assets across multiple chains. Building on that, the ecosystem is just filled with heavy hitters. Refinance leads decentralized exchange trading. Orderly Network acts as a deep liquidity layer that has processed tens of billions in volume. Allstake provides this incredible omni-chain staking experience, where users don't even need a bridge to stake across networks like Solana or Ethereum natively. It's seamless, and PlayAmber is bringing millions of casual mobile gamers on-chain. These apps perfectly demonstrate Near's chain abstraction vision, offering really complex financial and gaming tools that feel as simple and frictionless as your standard everyday apps.
All right, final section. Controversies and future risks, navigating the roadblocks.
Look, every powerful technology faces severe tests, and part of being an informed learner is looking at the full picture. It definitely hasn't been a perfectly smooth ride. Back in 2022, Skyward Finance, a launchpad built on Near, was exploited for roughly $3 million because a flaw in a smart contract allowed an attacker to basically loop redemptions. In 2023, the prominent analytics firm Messari published a study scrutinizing Near's decentralization metrics. And then in 2024, the official Near X account changed its name to It's All a Lie and started posting anti-crypto messages. It turned out to just be a marketing stunt, but the crypto community heavily criticized it as being super tone-deaf, especially given real industry security breaches, and it coincided with a roughly 15% drop in the token's price that week. Going back to that Messari report for a second, there's a really significant metric we need to consider. Analysts calculated Near's operational Nakamoto coefficient, which is a measure of network decentralization, at just 1. They noted that roughly 35% of Near's staked tokens were hosted on a single infrastructure provider, Amazon Web Services. So this indicates an elevated susceptibility to correlated infrastructure failures compared to a more distributed network. It highlights a very real risk factor regarding just how independent the network truly is at an operational level. Which brings us to the ultimate question. Can Near achieve true, robust decentralization while maintaining the mass scalability and user-friendly abstraction it's famous for? As Near Protocol pushes the absolute boundaries of blockchain speed and continues its massive pivot toward integrating AI models and agents directly into its on-chain economy, this vital question of infrastructure control remains for you to consider long after this explainer ends. Thank you so much for learning with us today.